It was really about how can I keep what's so incredibly beloved and special and bring it into the sequel without repeating and making the same movie, but just 29 years later. So, yeah, I couldn't touch the first movie. This had to be a whole new film entirely with the same beloved characters, hopefully with fun story, great other characters, bringing Billy back. I wanted to bring Binks back, but, well, you'll have to see. Did Binks come back or did he not? I don't know. Taking the elements from the first movie, the things that fans, because we are making this movie and have made this movie for the fans, and obviously newcomers, but we're here for them. We've made this for them. Disney made this for them. So taking the elements that were beloved, or what I think are completely beloved from the first movie, and bringing it into the sequel without it being the same, it wasn't that it was difficult or that it was easy. It was just a constant on my mind. I was consistently thinking about it. So making sure that I was servicing the characters and being truthful to the characters for the fan base, and keeping all the great little nuggets that are actually part of the witches' characters, which would have to come into this movie, and making sure that the tone was somewhere in the ballpark of the first one, so you have this beautiful 1-2 punch of the Sanderson sisters. The biggest challenge on this movie, it's hard to say. I think, and it's probably not that interesting, I think the lack of time. We had a very short window to make this movie, and I wanted to make a giant film because that's how I see this movie. That's how I see a lot of movies that I make. And so I wanted it to be giant, and yet we had a very small window. So I kept pushing the giantness of the movie, but in this tiny little space. I think that might be the biggest challenge that we had on this movie, or at least I had on this movie. Probably not that interesting, but I would say, the team was fully prepared and I had the best crew. So that wasn't a challenge. It was really the time. Sarah Jessica, Bette Midler, Kathy Najimy. The very first time I got to see them in costumes was actually Bette and Kathy for our hair and makeup tests. And they very wildly and amazingly to be a part of and to watch. It slipped into those characters instantaneously as if they just played these roles. It was wild and a trip to watch. And then be a part of. And then on set, when you had all three of them together, it's like they're a jazz band, really. And then maybe this will make sense to some and maybe not others, but each, you listen and you hear and you play your note when it's just music. They are musical when they act together, and they know how to play those instruments beautifully and together so that you have magic. I shot this movie where I kept the three of them in frame a lot and didn't have to cut so much performance or time or anything or rhythm, because it's the gold that you have with all three of them playing their instruments at the same time in such beautiful harmony. It's magical, to say the least. Yes, we did. We played around a little bit with improv. As I said, we had a very short window to make this movie, so we had the script for sure and stayed on that path. But from time to time, a handful of times, some of the witches would improvise. Kathy and Bette would just have a heyday here and there, and it's, they know their characters way more than anyone else, and they're brilliant at this. So the more the merrier. Well, The musical numbers, I think, were important to the fans, right? Because this is the second movie, and it is paying homage, and it is Bette Midler, and you want to see her sing, and you want to see her sisters sing along with her. I Put a Spell on You in the first movie is so good and so beloved. Mark Shaman and arranged it, and he and Bette did the lyrics, and we wanted to do the same thing. You can't really compete with that song because it's already perfect. So we just did what worked for our movie. And again, I'm not, musical numbers take a little bit longer to shoot, learn, record. There's a lot more involved in it. So I ended up, we have one giant number and one little taste that I won't talk much about. But yeah, I mean, I think we have everybody to thank, I guess, if you're going to use those words. We have everybody involved along with the fans of why we have any musical numbers in the movie, because of I Put a Spell on You from the first movie, for sure. I love walking the line. It's my favorite thing in the world to do, is walking the line of comedy, real drama, like emotional drama, and now horror. It's fun for me. And by the way, Wes Craven was the master at it. Every one of his horror films, there was a sense of humor to it. There is a fine line. There's a fine line between horror with a little twist of comedy. That's what's so much fun about this movie, is that everything's bigger than life, right? So they're constantly threatening to kill you. And by the way, they could in that fast. Yet they don't. And they get distracted very easily. So that was fun for me, and it's my sweet spot of where I like to play as a director, is the combination of these things together. Is my most favorite thing to do. So this was a blast for me. And some of our scares for me, it was, it's a roller coaster ride. You're terrified as you're going up the hill, absolutely scared, screaming, and it drops, and then you're laughing your head off. And so those were the kinds of scares I really wanted to reach for in this movie.
Oh, well, my first reaction was, it's about time. But as far as concerns go, I was so excited. A sequel had been rumored for so long that getting a call that it was actually happening, I was not concerned about anything really. I said yes. Oh, there's a script. I'll read it later. But yes, So I guess if anything, I was hoping that we would have. I was hoping that we would still have a sense of family in the storyline, whether it was natural or chosen. And sure enough, my dream came true with that.
Jumping into such a beloved film and a classic film that's so beloved by fans, myself included, there was a level of intimidation, but I felt that the environment that I also stepped into was very warm and welcoming. My friend Jen D'Angelo, is who wrote the script. I was such a huge fan of the ladies. I'm a huge fan of Doug. So getting to come in and do this movie, I was any sort of nerves that I had about it. Also, you don't want to come and be the weak link in a thing that you love so much. So the pressure to make sure I fit in where I belonged was there, but but it was immediately gone when we just kind of doing it. It was a really fun experience.
For me, I think it was the finale when I say my goodbyes. I love happy endings. I love when there's been some angst or some disagreement. I love it when we all can make up and come together. So when I finally when Sam gives me my head back and I get to put and then he defends me in front of the girls, like, nope, that's not how the story happened with Billy. I'll make sure it gets right. And so when I get to turn to him and say, "You're not as vile as I thought," I think that was my favorite moment in the whole film when we got to have that come together.
Yeah. I'd say the same, but I'll make it two parts. The same,
Yeah.
because also like the sort of like coming to rescue with Billy's head being here in his body and coming down the steps or coming down like the little hill. I'm like, oh, okay, everything's fine. And then like the goodbye, that was really fun. And then like before that is when I get zipped away.
Yes.
I'm on this like rig and I like actually get yanked up on like a wire.
Mhm.
That was really fun.
Yeah. Yeah. It looked great too, by the way.
Yeah.
You going head over heels.
Yeah. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
It was truly working with the ladies was truly incredible and like an education, because you're just watching how anytime you work with any great actor, actress, and you see kind of what made them so great and like how they approach a role and how they sort of take care of the piece that they're working on, is an education. You do learn so much from it, and I think this is no different. And I kind of watched how the three of them interacted with the script, with their space, and with each other, and also them returning to hats that they wore, in 1993. What I learned so much, and it was amazing.
Yes, seeing these three ladies return to characters that they'd played a long time ago with the same goofiness, the same over the top caricature, the same look for sure. And what I learned is like watching the collaborative process. Every scene that we did with them, you could watch them plotting their blocking out and making sure that this worked, that worked, even tweaks on lines. Maybe this is a funnier punch here, there. And our director, Fletcher, having a dance choreography background as well as being a brilliant director, movement and shapes and colors were all a part of her, her process too. So it was fascinating to watch all that come together, to see the Sandersons come back to their, brilliant glory, to see how that happened off camera. Yes.
Oh my goodness. I think it's even unfair. The production design and sets of this movie, it is unfair even to the audience, because there's no way you can see fully caught by camera how real everything was. Yeah. Like the magic shop, aka the Sanderson sisters' home. I was amazed walking onto that set for the first time. I even just like thinking about it right now, I've got goosebumps. it incredible. The production design on this movie is phenomenal.
Yeah, the production design was spot on, and for me, the forest, the magical forest was built indoors with hills and streams and trees and leaves placed one by one. I don't know how long it took them to put that forest together, but it was super impressive.
A couple hours.
Yeah, a couple hours at least.
Yeah. A big moon.
And a big moon. Oh, I love the moon. It was relaxing to go on set and see the big full moon. But then that brings peril, doesn't it?
Exactly. The werewolf.
Okay.
Werewolf's working as a PA.
Right.
So it was very, useful, very fast.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Oh, we about the same time. And I think the lesson when the younger ladies in this film find out that, you know what, this potion, this spell works when we all join forces together. That was a nice message for, when you think. I'm a person in my life that I like to do things on my own. I don't need help from anybody else. I'll figure it out. But when you say, you know what, maybe it will help to include other people in whatever's happening. And so there's a sense of family there. There's a sense of sisterhood that we get to watch unfold. That's a message, I think, that we need each other. We depend on each other, and it's okay to be to need each other.
Yeah. I'd say the same.
That's your answer?
That's my answer. Okay. I'd say a message I'd hope that audiences take away from this is that e pluribus unum. From many, there's one.
Yeah. That's good.
I learned that from a dollar bill.
Yeah. Well, I feel like the audition. There was a funny story with the two of us because we were supposed to.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah, we knew each other, and we were in the middle of we just started auditioning for it. We hadn't done a chemistry read yet, and
I was supposed to come visit you in the Hamptons.
But we were both like, "Oh, we have auditions, blah blah blah."
But we didn't say anything.
Say what they were. So then we get onto the Zoom, and Whitney's face pops up, and I just go, "Whitney?"
And I go, "Lilia?"
And they were like, "You guys know each other?" And we were like,
"Yeah,
yeah."
I was supposed to spend the weekend at her house.
It was, and I'm pretty sure right then and there they were like, yeah. It's awesome. It was great.
And then I was just on the Zoom. I didn't know either of them.
You thought I was a fan of Whitney
I thought
at
it was
first.
really weird.
Oh
yeah.
my God.
Literally, you were like, "Were you a fan?"
I was like, is she
Gossip
you had
Girl?
just-
I thought
you guys
Lilia
had
was
just
like
done-
fangirling.
You guys had just done a chemistry with somebody else, no?
No,
This was the first time.
This was
the
our
first
first time.
time. Oh.
It was really crazy.
Very funny.
Very funny. Right when we booked it, Bliss and I went to lunch, and it was really very
At Earth
cute.
Cafe?
At Earth Cafe, and it was lovely and fun. And I drove you, and we listened to Nicki Minaj.
Yeah, Nicki Minaj. I don't drive. I don't have a license.
And probably ABBA.
You know me so well.
I mean, pretty aligned.
I think we're pretty. I think we're given a lot of nods. A lot of nods.
Yeah.
A lot. Yeah.
If you
Yeah.
can't tell from the witty humor of Izzy and also her little dingamabob on her head, she does have some parallels to Mary.
Right.
Yeah.
And if you can't tell by how much green Becca wears.
Winifred moment. Yeah, I mean, I think Cassie's very parallel to Sarah in a sense of kind of being the one causing a little bit of trouble and always kind of falling in love.
But she also wears a lot of green.
Yeah, like our colors. If you pay attention to the colors of our outfits,
There, and we also have the little necklaces that kind of, if you look very closely,
it's a pendant.
Yes, it's a little pendant that is like the Sanderson sisters' colors. So,
And it's super cute.
also we kind of had similar hairstyles. I was blonde when I booked it, but then they did dye my hair because they were like, it's too much like Sarah.
Yeah.
So
I had a dingamabob.
I loved it. I loved
I
the
had-
dingy-mabob of it all.
Yeah. We were gonna do the two buns, but then we were like, maybe that's a little bit on the nose.
Yeah.
And so we just did one ponytail in the back. But because my hair is like curly and short, it just kind of flared out that way. So
I feel like we started with the school scenes, which were pretty cool,
Yes.
but it wasn't like it still could be like a high school movie for us.
Totally.
But then when we got into like the forest, that's the forest set.
The armory.
the forest
Or the
was
armory,
crazy.
too.
The trolley.
The trolley, like there were
Oh, the
moments
house.
when we were
The
like,
house was really
The
cool.
magic
Yeah.
shop. Oh my goodness.
okay, yeah, the magic shop. That was definitely like
Yeah.
walking in there was like,
We're in Salem.
whoa, we're in this world. Like,
Right.
Yeah.
holy moly.
There were a lot of times when I would be sitting there and be like, realize where you are.
We've said this multiple times, but really just the most learning that we did was through observation and just being inspired by them, working across from us and just being,
Giving it their all every time.
Being
yeah.
It's really cool to see.
hilarious.
Do not light
your
any
friends
suspicious
close.
candles. That, yeah.
That's true.
That I think love conquers.
Yes.
Sisterhood.
Sisterhood. But your
Definitely.
friends make you more powerful as a person.
Yeah.
Yes.